Welcome to the channel. In this video, we're going to be cleaning a Miller's Falls number 24 Type 22. The Type 22 planes were made between 1948 and 1952. Now, if you don't know about the Miller's Falls numbering system, they go by the length of the plane. So this plane is about 24 inches long, so they call it a number 24. That would be equivalent to a Stanley number 8. They do the same thing for all of their planes. So a number 9 is about 9 inches long. That is equivalent to a Stanley number 4. So that's just a little bit of information there. Now, the Type 22 plane is signified by a rosewood tote knob, brass barrel knights. It has casting gates. It has different markings behind the lever cap. But the iron is not correct. The iron should say solid tool steel, and it doesn't. I use the website you see on the screen right now to try to type these planes, but I'm not 100% sold that this is a Type 22, so let me know if you have a different opinion. Now right here, you're going to see me dropping these small parts into an ultrasonic cleaner. I'll explain why I do that in a little bit. The very first thing that I do here is I take the parts and I spray them down with this LA's Awesome Degreaser. I do that just to clean the plane, get any kind of dirt and grime off of there. I use a scrub brush because that also helps take off dirt and grime, and sometimes it takes off some rust. I am not a huge fan of Vapor Rust because I feel like it just creates more work. It does a great job taking off rust, but it leaves the surface gray, so then you have to come back with a Scotch-Brite pad and get that gray off to get it back to, I guess, the patina. I like trying to preserve the patina, and I feel like after you use a Vapor Rust and you hit it with a Scotch-Brite pad, you're more likely to take the patina off. So I spray on the degreaser, I scrub it off, I rinse it under some water, and that cleans it up really well. This plane was actually already in really good shape, so I didn't have to put too much work into this. Now, for that ultrasonic cleaner, the reason I like using that is because I don't like a Vapor Rust and having to clean off the gray once I clean those small parts, and they're just tough to hold on to. So I do a couple cycles in the ultrasonic cleaner to remove anything, and then afterwards you'll see me rinse them and hit them with a little wire brush as well. Now, for the big parts, once I'm done with them and the small parts, what I do is I wipe them dry, and then I use some mineral spirits to prevent flash rusting. It doesn't happen as often with the LA's Awesome. It usually happens when you use like a Vapor Rust, but I use this just in case I have to take a pause before I finish cleaning the plane, and I like that it just creates a little seal before I dive into waxing the plane when everything's done. Now, the mat that I'm using on top of the bench to protect it, that is just some umbrella material that I got from Amazon. I use this thing all the time. Anytime I'm doing a glue up, I'm cleaning anything. Sometimes when I'm sharpening stuff, I just use that to cover the bench. It's cheap. It's obviously waterproof. The other cool part about it is that the glue just peels right off. So here are the little parts. As you can see at the slop sink, I have a couple different strainers that I use because for a while there I was flipping tools and cleaning planes pretty much daily. I don't know if you saw, but it went pretty fast. I also poured some mineral spirits over those to prevent flash rusting as well. So the first thing that I like to do after cleaning is just take a razor blade and scrape off as much of the rust as I can. It works pretty well. You just have to make sure that you don't gouge your plane, because I've done that a few times. I've scratched it with the razor blade, but once you find the angle, it's pretty much set. It's not that difficult. And then after that, I just use one of those red Scotch-Brite pads to continue removing the rust, remove any kind of grime. I don't go crazy with it, and I don't use wire wheels because I like preserving the patina. This plane in particular is going to be for my collection, which I'll show you guys at the end of the video. If this was going to be a user, this process would be a lot different. This is just to clean it up and make it look worthy of being on display, I guess. I don't know how to word that, but this is just a simple cleaning. Like I said, use the razor blade, get off as much of that rust as possible. You saw there I was using a vacuum. That's one of the most handy tools that I have recently purchased. I use it for everything. Anytime I'm flattening a plane with sandpaper, sharpening irons with sandpaper, and you need to like clear it out, I take the vacuum to the sandpaper and it just works awesome. Same with this, it picks up rust really well. It's just one of those vacuums that people typically get for their cars and stuff. Now, when you get to cleaning the edges of the plane like this is where you have to be the most careful about scratching the plane or dinging it with that razor blade. So just make sure you take your time here. If it's your first time ever restoring a plane, I'd probably go for something more common to find, like a Stanley number 4. I wouldn't like get a Stanley number 2 and start cleaning it if that's your first time ever. Just an example. I do the same thing for all of the parts. When you start getting into the irons and the face of the frog and stuff like that, sometimes it's tough to use a razor blade, so oftentimes I'll just opt right away for that Scotch-Brite pad, and they work phenomenal. Sometimes people forget to clean the edges of the iron, but that often likes to hide rust, so make sure you're cleaning the sides of the iron as well. So this is the iron I was telling you is not type correct. It's supposed to say solid tool steel at the top, but I got this plane for what I think is a really good deal for it being a Type 22. Even if it's not a Type 22, I am pretty happy with what I paid for this plane. I got it over in Ohio at the Colonial Homestead. If you guys have not been to Colonial Homestead in Ohio, you have to go. It is literally a little slice of heaven for tool nerds. When I die, that's where I want my ashes spread, just so everybody knows. The next thing that I like to do here is wax all of the parts, and what I'm using is the Cottrell Toolworks Furniture Wax. When you go to his website, he calls it a paste wax because it is more of a paste wax, but you can use it on furniture too. It does really well at repelling the water, but it also does really well on tools. I use this on all of my tools to coat them for storage, to coat them between uses, to make sure that it's preventing rust. You can also use this on the bottom of planes to give you that lubrication while the plane's in use, but he does make a hard wax for that as well. What you'll notice here is I'm taking all of the screws and I'm also dipping them into the wax before installing them onto the plane. I like to do that because I've had way too many planes where the screws were stuck in there and it took me a lot of work to get them out. So I wax everything before I assemble it. So as I mentioned earlier, this plane is just for my collection. It's going to be sitting on a shelf, and that's why I'm doing just this simple cleaning process. If this is going to be a user, then obviously you're going to want to do more. You're going to want to flatten the bottom, sharpen the iron. I'm skipping that entire step. The other way that this cleaning method works is if you are buying planes to clean up and sell. When I was flipping planes, I used to get them completely ready. Flatten the bottom, sharpen the iron, do all of that kind of stuff. And what I learned is the slight increase in profit that you get from doing all of that work does not justify the time that goes into it unless you're one of those really well-known plane restorers or whatever on Facebook or on eBay or something like that. I wasn't, so it just wasn't justifiable for my time. But if you're just cleaning them up to sell, this is a great, quick, easy method. If you just want to clean them up to throw them on a shelf, this is a great method for that as well. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's different from my norm because usually I just do like reviews and comparisons, but I thought it would be cool for you guys to see me just cleaning up the plane and what my process is. I have a few more planes to clean up, so I'll probably record them as well. Maybe I'll make one of them like a tutorial version. For this one, I did an ASMR version without talking and a talking version because I'm curious to see which one's going to do better because like I said, this is not my normal type of video. So if you didn't know, I am a little obsessed with Miller's Falls planes. I feel like they're better than Stanley. So you can yell at me down below. Have a good day.